as an audience member is this, by all accounts, beautiful woman stand up. But Kevin Bacon gives her the look as if she is shit incarnate, like a walking
just a shit
turd.
Monster.
Yeah. I mean, it's really strange. His reaction baffles me as an adult watching this. It probably did as a kid, too. It's just like, I don't get how I'm supposed to... I get he's disappointed that she's not blonde and tall legs and all this stuff, but she is gorgeous.
She is, but she made the mistake. You don't put that white shit on your nose, man.
That's right. You never want to protect yourself from skin cancer.
No, because no matter guy or girl, that's it's unattractive.
It's a sacrifice to look good.
Yeah, it is.
We get a few little shots of like little tremors, like ground shaking and stuff like that throughout. But then we get to go into town. We basically meet everybody.
Yeah, and it's the heart of the story takes off here with. Getting to meet the whole town. Everybody plays their little part. Everybody has their own little quirks. The good thing about this, I mean, there's a lot of great things about this movie, and I guess the great thing is that we get to meet every single person in this town.
Yes.
We get to meet all 14 characters. Everybody kind of lives up to, what they're portraying. They go at it 100% as far as how they're acting it. And there's just these little pockets of good characterization where everybody stands out because they have these little things about them, too.
And they do a great job in this film of paying everything off. Everything gets a payoff. Right. The cooler making all the noise. The kid who cries wolf too many times.
Pogo stick.
The pogo stick. I mean, everything that's in there, you get, as an audience, you get a very satisfying payoff.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it like the construct of this and just how you mentioned at the top. I mean, we do have these graboid fights, 4 of them. Mm-hmm. And, it kind of it separates the movie into these pieces. And at that same time, you have all these kind of, you don't want to call them superheroes. I mean, they're heroes, but they all have this little thing that brings it back to the movie. And whether it startles a graboid, whether it helps trap a graboid, whether... it's Bert and Heather, and they're survivalists before seeing their gun wall, and they're like, I wonder if these guys are going to kill. So, oh my God, they have a gun wall. They're going to fucking kill this crap. I mean, everything pays off in this movie and that's what just brings it around so well.
Yeah, there's not a dull. The last time I watched it for moments where I'm like, they don't really need this, but everything serves a purpose and nothing feels wasted. It moves really well, and then we get to these graboid fights, and there's 4 total fights, and each one has to require a different, basically, ability from them to kill it. I mean, it really is like a. If you think of Return of the Dragon, Bruce Lee's unfinished film was the idea that he's going up this tower, and each level there's a new person to fight, or the raid. Like every level there's this new challenge. That's kind of what we get here, just in a different sense.
Yeah, and it's great how they put the graboids to use. I mean, you have the first one who's kind of like the dumb graboid. You have the second one who... a little smarter and so forth until you get to the big one. I mean, but it's all these built up into these different ways and how they kill them, what brings them about, like what makes them startled and everything too.
And how great is it that the first time Val and Earl really come into contact unknowingly with the graboid is when they rip off the tentacle, the mouth tentacle. Yeah. It's just such a fun way. They could make all of these battles lifeless. I mean, they really could. It could have just been one monster, but the fact that there are 4, the idea of making them each different was just so smart. Making one be like the alpha, it was really a smart move. And so, the fact that this one is the one we can recognize because it doesn't have a tongue demon or whatever they're called, it's just really cool. I really like that. I certainly appreciate it more as an adult than I did as a 13-year-old watching it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that kind of where the reasoning is, we go back to the reviews a little bit, and I think that if there was one thing that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of, even as a younger kid, it would have been a little more blood. It would have been maybe that very first kill is the danger here, the real threat. It's not just a guy standing up on sitting up on a tower full of dehydration, or dying of dehydration, but it's a graboid coming out of the ground, clamping its jaws, or the snake, and then pulling him in, and just blood squirting a little bit too. Something like that.
Yeah, I think it could be really fun to add Quentin Tarantino style blood.
Yeah,
if you think about that old man who gets sucked under and his head's still there.
Right.
Like, if they could have just had, like, him being, like, taken under and blood just, you know, I mean, that kind of blood would have fit. I probably would have made it R, too, so I understand. But, like, there's not a lot of blood in this movie, except Chang gets some blood, and then the road crew gets some blood.
Yeah, you get a little brains in that one, too.
Yeah, I mean it's and there's hair in the brains, which is always a great touch. You know, we don't use this podcast as a blow by blow of the film, so I can't recommend this movie enough. But I want to talk about each of the graboids.
Yeah,
and let's go through each of those fights. So the first one is the first time they're being chased. Like, it's the one, and it's coming after Val and Earl.
They were on their horses, and now it knocked them off, and so
So at this point, there is trouble in the town, and all the roads are closed because of the avalanche. And so now the only way to get there is on horseback. And so you get this really fun sort of callback shot to old westerns as Val and Earl ride off into the sunset on their horses to try to save the town. And the horses get spooked, obviously, because there's a giant worm. And so they're on foot and they're running. And this one is just sort of them unknowingly killing this thing.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know what they're really facing.
They don't know what it is. No, they just know it's coming after them. They know things are being sucked underground, so they know what's happening to them. But then, you get to see the little one, the little tiny thing, attack the horse as Kevin Bacon shoots it off the horse, and then they run. They see like a giant drainage ditch, concrete or a barrier wall, whatever it is. And they try to leap, and the dumb fuck runs right into
right into it,
right into the wall, which is a great way to set up the final fight too.
Yeah.
That these things will chase and chase and chase.
Yeah, it's and the first kill is great too. I mean, I love the goo that it shows kind of through the cement when they break it open, and then it just pours out, and just kind of that. These things do look like they stink. Like that, I've always wondered. Like, I wonder what that would smell.
They did such a good job. Like you can imagine when they finally let it all fall out of the concrete wall.
Yeah.
Like the smell that comes with it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You probably can't show these graboids in motion a lot. It's probably very expensive, or it would have been difficult for them to shoot that many times of like, here the graboid is coming, here its tentacles moving. So the first time you get introduced to it is this slow burn of like pulling away the concrete, and you get to see the whole thing.
Right.
You get to poke at it. You get to see the things hanging out. So it's a fun way to see, like, this is what's chasing you. You now have a strong visual of what is underground.
Yeah, and I mean, it helps gives you that picture of kind of, okay, these are how big these things are. This gives you we know that these things will just keep on running or going underground to fight you until it just runs out of room or it gets you, one of the two, so there's no stopping them. And then, and that's what we get to the next kill. And
the next kill is the gunfight, am I right?
Yeah, that's I mean, there's some like intermingling fighting with them, and then also on top of the house, and then that's in Chang's store. It's the same one that's in Chang's store too. Then they're all on top of their houses trying to get it, and then run from it, and then that's when so Walter Chang dies, Nestor dies, just being up on the tire and not getting up high enough like an idiot. He deserved to go out on that one, and then we get the next we get the Gummers. We get Heather and Bert.
And the Gummers are making bullets very loudly. They are just in this basically a paint. If you imagine when you go to Lowe's and get paint mixed and they put it in that little thing and it's just shaking it like crazy. That's what they have going on in their basement.
Yeah, I don't know if they were trying to make if she was making bullets in a hurry. I don't know what the reathing was there. I don't know what that's about.
So they knew, the Gummers at this point know there's a threat, and they know there are things, but they don't understand that they go through the ground and stuff like that. And they're trying to communicate, but they're getting bad signal. As with most action movies, no one gets to communicate the danger until it's too late. And then all of a sudden this thing busts through the wall, and it is go time for the Gummers. We get to see them just go ham on this thing.
They go every single piece of weaponry that they have. And it's, I mean, everything from a revolver to a flare gun to an assault rifle to an elephant gun at the very end that finally puts it down after like 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah.
I mean, those mags, those shells on that elephant gun, those things are huge.
Yeah, it was so... I loved that scene as a kid.
I've never shot... I'd love to shoot something with that and just see what that feels like on the shoulder to shoot.
It looks like the type of bullets, if you've seen the... not the last Rambo movie, but the one before that, where at the end of the movie he gets in that anti-aircraft gun.
Yeah.
Those are the size of the bullets. I mean, they're enormous.
Yeah.
So that's the second fight. And then the third one, you get some time here. You get... they eventually get everyone back, and there's some dissent amongst the ranks in the town population that's left. They go to these rocks. They end up getting stuck, and they're being circled by the last two graboids. And they do a little fun fishing with dynamite thing.
Yeah, it's a great payoff to just. I think the whole scene itself. I mean, you get everybody just on this one rock. Like, what a great way to shoot a scene! Like, you have the whole town on one rock.
Yeah,
I mean, besides the people who have died, but you have that whole town that's left on this one rock, and you have this, way, okay, it makes sense. They come out of the ground, they hear noises, you drag it back, they're going to bite it, and of course, the one that they kill right here does. He jumps up, takes it, and bam, it's just like a great blood splatter, too, all over the place, and everything, too, and then... we'll get into this, but they try it on the next one, which is the main one, and he spits it right back out at him, sends him running, and it's just a great build from the dumb one at the first to this one at the end, too.
So let's get into this last one as we do one of our favorite segments. It's called
Boss Fight.
Boss Fight.
So this guy has been the toughest one to kill. He's obviously the smartest. He knows not to go for the dynamite anymore. And this is where we get to see the resurgence of Kevin Bacon, because at this point, he is kind of he's sort of becoming in love with LeBeck here.
Yeah. I mean, we find,
it helped that he got to see her in her underwear.
He did, and those... Let's just bring it back to the underwear one time.
Okay. Yeah.
Those underwear and the way that they fit, like, is how I remember every 90s and 80s girl in underwear. Like, isn't that I mean, I think that Hollywood prop underwear for women
underwear.
Yeah, is the same, like, from... I think somebody finally came in 1998 and probably said,
like,
guys, we got to cut this shit out. Yeah, we need new underwear.
Yeah.
But it was just that same type of, like... Not tight, but not loose, but that fitting kind of just flowing underwear.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's very comfortable.
It breathes. Yeah.
I imagine it's the equivalent of whitey tighties for men.
Yeah. But it's like that silky kind of look, too.
Yes.
But anyways, I transgress. He, that's probably definitely where Kevin was like, oh, she's got woman parts. Now, it's not as
it
nasty.
really was the first time we saw, like, him kind of, like, stare at her longer than like is normal, and then she looks at him and they both like look away sheepishly,
right,
as he overcomes his own insecurities and hang-ups to see the beauty of this woman in front of him, who's smarter than him and at that point braver than him. Then we get the final boss fight, and they've done a great job of leading it up to a boss fight. It really feels like they're facing the toughest, the biggest, and the smartest one.
Oh yeah, and what does Val do? Val disregards any of Earl's wisdom, and it pays off, because this is who Val is. This, deep down, he's not Earl. He's not gonna think 3 steps ahead. He's not gonna think about the big picture.
He's gonna think about what's now.
Yeah, Val is all about, well, I need to save these people now, and he's like, this is the time to do it. I got nothing else to lose in life, and I'm gonna do it. And so he just gets out there,
and he does. He takes the graboid on a chase, knowing, I imagine, what he remembers happened in the first kill.
Right.
That these things will follow you till they get you.
So he was thinking in the long run, pretty much.
Maybe. Maybe like he ended up. You know how in action movies, when it's like you see something at the beginning and then that thing is the thing that they use to beat. Maybe that's what the directors were going here with, the idea that the graboids will chase you until they just can't anymore.
Yeah.
And so he chases and leads. He sees the cliff edge and just runs right towards the cliff edge, and the the damn thing just follows him right through there,
just right off. And I think about that. Like, could it have ended another way? But you think about, like, all these graboid deaths have ended just how we probably wanted them to. Right? You think of the first one. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. The first one, he runs his head into the wall and he pops out and he's dead. We get to see the Gummers use all their weapons on one of them. They're throwing dynamite. We want to see a big explosion on one. Yeah, but then it's like, oh wait, they're going to throw it again. We kind of want it. We kind of want them to win, but we don't want to see the same thing again. Yeah.
We get an explosion. We get a gunfight, and then we get like a blunt force trauma death.
Yeah,
and now we get a high fall death as this graboid falls out of the cliff face and falls 50 feet to its death. I think this is so good. where normally a death would happen or someone would fall off a high perch and you would cut to the hero's face and they'd be like, oh, God,